Hi there and welcome back to my channel, and we're going on with the next witness of the Casey Anthony trial, which is George Anthony again. So we are going on, they start talking about the tow letter and everything and that whole day. So George learned of the fact that this vehicle had been towed through a letter he received that Cindy found at the front door. Cindy told him on Sunday 13th of July they don't actually use the front door, they always use the garage. And the letters, told them that they had a certified letter at the post office and they didn't know what it was about. They couldn't do anything on Sunday and George was planning on going to the post office on the Monday. But he couldn't because he had just started a new job and had some work issues to take care of, so he was planning to go on the Tuesday. He went Tuesday morning and collected the certified letter at about noon. On the envelope he saw the name Johnson's Towing Office and then read their vehicle had been towed. He can't remember the address of where it had been towed from and towed on the 30th of June. He was shocked because the car was supposed to be with Casey in a different location, because the last he knew she was in Jacksonville with the car. It was Cindy that had told him this, so that's as far as he knew. He called Cindy to tell her what the letter said and was going to the tow yard to find out what was going on. He was upset about the charge of nearly $500. It didn't make any sense how he hadn't been notified sooner, as he didn't live that far away from the yard. Now, from the previous testimony, we know why. He rang his wife and told her how much it was and she would go to the bank and get some money. So when they both get to the tow yard, we know that Cindy's angry and they're both a bit pissed off that it's costing so much. And then George left with Simon to go get the car. As they approached the car, within about 3 feet, George smelled a pretty strong odour coming from the passenger side. George was very concerned about the odour. He had smelled something like that a few years prior, because he worked in law enforcement. He thought about his daughter and his granddaughter. He was hoping that he basically wouldn't find them dead in there. So, Simon smelled it, George smelled it, but neither of them said anything. They didn't call law enforcement. I mean, if you walk up to a car and there's a strong decomp smell in there, before opening anything, wouldn't you get law enforcement involved? So when he opened the driver's side door, the smell was more intense, but he didn't see any signs of an injury, like any blood or anything like that. So he was relieved that he couldn't see any bad signs. He then reached over into the passenger side to roll down the window. He tried to start the car and it wouldn't start, and he says they went to the trunk. And as he opened the trunk, he said quietly, "Please God, don't let this be Casey or Kaylee." When he opened the trunk, to the left side, he saw a white bag with a pizza box in it. He says he observed maggots, a plastic container and other things. He says he didn't touch it. George, again, was relieved to not find any bodies in the trunk. George says that Simon believed that that's where the smell was coming from and he'd get rid of it. After getting the gas from his car to put in Casey's car, he put it in and drove out of the yard. He says the smell was still in the car, so he drove with the windows down. He wouldn't have been able to drive the car home with the windows up. So, this smell was pretty bad. George's feelings about where Kaylee and Casey was growing now. Getting back home, they opened all the doors, windows and the trunk to air out the car to get rid of the smell. And he spoke to Cindy about what could be going on. So then George said that he noticed a circular white stain in the trunk where the spare tyre was at. It was a slight stain, but it hadn't been there before. He says the car was messy inside, and they show a picture inside Casey's car on the passenger side and of the back seat. George can't remember what else was in the trunk. After getting the car home, George went to work because he was starting a new job. so then it's decided that Cindy would try and get hold of Casey. So the cross-examination, again, they get him down with their big calendar to go through the dates, and George is instantly irritated by it. Then they start arguing about when he received the letter, again saying that they don't use the front door, always use the garage. They couldn't see the notice that was slid in between the door and, you know, the shutter door. There's not really a big reason why they wouldn't have seen it from the driveway. This is the attorney arguing it, saying, you know, so you can see from your driveway the front door. Why wouldn't you have seen a big yellow letter stuck there? George is usually the one that picks up the mail, and he says they've had numerous, well, I can't remember if he said it or the attorney says it, that they've had numerous notices like this before. George called Amscott later that day after collecting the car from the tow yard, as he was curious. George can't remember which gas can he took with him, so he can't remember if it had duct tape on it. To the best of his recollection, the last time he spoke to Casey was on the 24th of June. It had been 3.5 weeks when he went to go collect the car from the tow yard. He can't remember mentioning Kaylee being missing when he went to the tow yard. George is asked if he asked Simon Birch, the previous witness, to walk around the car with him to the trunk. George said no. So the defence have got one of George's police statements to read out that George had said, "Oh God, I tried to start the car for a second time and he thought, no George, there's something wrong. You've got to find out now. You can't take it away. I told the guy, I said, will you please walk around the back of the car and look inside this with me? So he did ask him. George doesn't remember saying it, but he did tell law enforcement that's what happened. It just feels to me that George is being awkward for the point of being awkward. He's just digging a hole for himself. He's making himself look bad. He won't answer most questions. He's got to argue, and he's got to go the long way around with his answers. He's just making it so awkward. And despite his daughter and granddaughter being missing and smelling the smell in the car, he still didn't call the police. I mean, I agree with all of this. I feel bad for the guy for losing his granddaughter and all this stuff going on with his daughter, but you can't deny what's being said. Nor did he call his daughter to see if she was okay or to ask if Kaylee is okay, which is a damn good point. George did meet with law enforcement without his family knowing. He told law enforcement he didn't want Cindy or Lee to know. There's so many things going on with his family. The redirect, George doesn't know when the notification letter was put on his door. So that's the end of that one. What can I say? So I will be back with more videos with more witnesses. Until then, bye for now.